different levels, I cannot relate. You never win if you playing it safe.
Welcome to USL Live and to the Season 25 preview show. I'm your host, Romulocks, and this USL Live podcast is a weekly production where our panel of veteran players breaks down the competition and looks ahead to the action to predict what we can expect to see in this, our 25th season of Free Infantry's Unified Skirmish League. To help me do that, I am honored and privileged to welcome into the broadcast booth my panel of co-hosts for the preview show in no particular order. First up, we have Mecca.
Howdy.
Yosh.
Ni hao.
Grump.
Hello.
Bowen.
Yo.
And Eric.
Holy fuck, you guys are getting rolled.
For more information on the Unified Skirmish League, including the newly posted Season 25 schedule, well, it's going to be posted here, I believe, the updated rosters, or to sign up to be in this historic online gaming league, we ask that you please visit uslzone.com. Welcome into the start of Season 25. The agenda for the show today will be as follows. First up, we're going to take a look at the new rules and rule changes that are going to be implemented this season as part of the tireless and diligent work of our resident league administrator, Bowen, with help from Grump. Second, we're going to announce and look at the maps being used for Season 25. Then we're going to look at the 5 squads that are currently qualifying to participate in Season 25 in alphabetical order, using rosters current as of December the 3rd, 2024. After discussing the squads, the panelists are going to be required to assign each of these teams a power ranking representing where each person believes the team will finish at the conclusion of regular season play. Once those results are tabulated, we will announce the USL Live power rankings for Season 25, which will be the average of all those scores. Finally, we will announce the schedule for the Week 1 games and do our best to predict the results of those matches. So first up, let's go into rules. Season 24 was a difficult season for many people, but most notably for the staff. Our rules have evolved steadily over the course of 50-plus seasons, but they become so burdensome and onerous that even our referees were having a tough time parsing out what was permitted and what wasn't in some instances and what the penalties for violations would be. To that end, during the offseason, Bowen took it upon himself to revisit these rules, and the results are a total overhaul of the rules for USL. And without further ado, I want to ask Bowen to take us through the new rule changes and to offer some insights into major changes we need to adjust for Season 25. So Bowen, go ahead, buddy.
First off, I'm going to amend you real quick there. I'm going to say that Grump actually did a lot of the overhaul, and I helped. So he was kind of the primary person as far as like the rebuild. He did all the writing. Grump does this on a daily basis for what he does. So it was much more efficient for him to go in and do the writing and made more sense. And then I just kind of went behind him with a couple other people, and we just did some live talk together and really went through the rules that way. And got them where we wanted them and answered all the questions we wanted. And I think we've got them in a pretty good spot. We'll see, I guess, right? So Grump, actually, I kind of want to let you talk a little bit on this one, man, since this is kind of your, this was your project. Give us some of the breakdown on what you've kind of written in.
Yes, I mean, I can start off by saying, I came back last season. I volunteered to be a ref. The first game I refed was probably the most controversial game of the season. Was my first game reffing ever. Luckily, I was back up to a veteran ref and victim. But really sort of reading the rules over before that match and then after, I just had a lot of questions. There's a lot of ambiguity, a lot of things that just straight up contradicted themselves. So even back then I messaged Bowen and said, can I take a stab at going over these things in the off season because they're kind of a mess. So to that end, honestly, most of the rules are very, very similar to what they were before. And I kept the spirit of the rules to be as close as I could. But really what I wanted to do was break out the rules so that there wasn't like paragraph long rules that, one sentence would contradict something that was said in a different rule 4 sections later. I tried to get rid of all of those. And the other thing I really tried to do was think of all the ways that the rules were very abusable in the past and just try and patch them out. I'm happy to get into specifics, but I don't want to eat up too much time. So throw
Yeah.
it back to you there, Ron.
What I'd like to do is get some of are there any significant rule changes that are different from past seasons? That would be my first question. And what rules did you really focus on consolidating and just making simpler? One of which I know we're going to want to talk about is baselines.
Yeah, I was gonna say baselines and camping, right?
Yeah, so those are the two really big ones. Those were the ones where I had like the most actual rewrites. So the baselines, obviously the game that I refed last season, the baselines were the big issue with Leak accidentally crossing back into the line, and then fighting from inside his own lines, violating the rule, and then what the penalty should have been for that. And there were somewhat conflicting versions in the rules, so that got a full rewrite just to be a little bit simpler. So the main rewrite there is now 9.1 in the rules section. Players cannot cross enemy baselines or re-enter their own lines under any circumstance. So that means that when lines are active, you cannot cross them. The part 2 of that is that players violating baselines will be sent to spectator mode immediately. And if they are engaged in a battle while violating baselines, the opposing team will be awarded a kill. So that opposing team awarded a kill is a sort of a theme that you'll see a lot in the new rules that are specifically to avoid, if I'm going to run into my baselines to avoid getting killed, the other team deserves that kill because that kill's off the table. That's a lot of what those changes are. On camping, what I changed is it used to say squads can move between, squads can't just move between two sectors repeatedly. So they can't go from H1 to H2 back to H1 for longer than a minute. They can't stay in a single place for longer than a minute. What I altered that to is to say that a squad cannot camp in 1 minute, cannot camp in one area for more than 1 minute consecutively, meaning that if a squad is in one spot for a minute or one area, they got camp timer called. They have 15 seconds to get to move, or their coordinates will be shared and all baselines will be voided. The reason for the baseline voiding is that you can't just create a safe space, and with the removal of the previous baseline rules where you could cross them for an angle, teams might need a way to be able to get into an area and break a camp. The other big change, obviously, is I was talking about the sector issue. One area is not a specific coordinate. It's not a specific, sector or anything like that. It's just if a ref is watching this and says, I test these people are camping, the camp timer's called, the 1 minute starts, and the squads get notified. I have heard a lot of conflicting opinions on this, and honestly, I don't think it's the best solution. But I'm still waiting for anyone to submit a way of wording that rule that isn't abusable from a camping perspective.
Gotcha. Community guys like Eric, Yosh, Mecca, what do you guys think about it? Have you had a chance to look at the rules? I know, Eric, you had some thoughts about the sector switching. We were talking about that last night a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Grump hit it though. Like, there's got to be a way to word it better, and I'll look into it a little bit more. I've been working, so I haven't really had a chance to actually sit down and see what I could do. But I do think that a form of that verbiage does need to be added back, because you're gonna see squads, especially on Apollo's map, once they have left side, they're gonna sit right outside their baselines, move to another chord, sit there, and then move back. Right? They're gonna avoid that camp timer allowing the baselines to be voided and just double back, the infamous split of double back, if you will. So I mean, we got to figure something out, and I agree, once we actually find some better verbiage that makes it less abusable, then we can implement that.
All right, understood. Bowen, any others that you'd like to call attention to?
No, I mean, so that pretty well covers. There's an overall rewrite, and you'll see a lot of verbiage that gets rid of warnings and stuff like that in there. So I encourage everybody to kind of go in and just read through all the rules and make sure you really have familiarity with them, especially captains. there's just a lot of little things that can change. Well, I guess the camping was the big one in the baseline. So I mean, just like I said, familiarize yourself with them and just make sure.
And did I understand that the new changes, you cannot cross baselines at all for any reason? That's
except for the last 3 minutes, right? At last 3 minutes, all baselines are voided. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so it just simplifies that rule significantly.
Right. Yeah, I did notice that you actually went back and did give a set amount of time for the camp breaking, which I appreciate because that was my original complaint. Once we saw the first PDF, you gave it a 5-minute timer for baseline voided for over camping essentially. So I appreciate that. Unfortunately, I don't like refs having a whole lot of discretion because a lot of discretion, as I want to say Mecca put it, is a pipeline for a lot of appeals. Yep. So, I mean, having set in stone punishments and times are appreciated.
Yeah, I actually don't know what version you saw with the 5-minute timer. I don't know if I ever intentionally put that in. It might have just been a typo. If so,
it's on the site rules. It wasn't in the PDF file, but it's on the site rules.
Oh, okay.
And the site rules have been updated. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And honestly, big shout out to Champ because there's also a whole formatting change that came along with this.
Yeah.
And he implemented that, without hesitation. So that was super nice.
I really like the little drop down tab, quick navigation. Anyway, any other comments, Mecca, Yosh, or anybody there on the rule changes?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Go ahead.
First off, thank you guys for doing it. Right, it's something that needed to be done. But throughout the seasons, we've just kind of added things on, and yeah, they kind of turned into what the rules turned into. Right,
it did get into a hodgepodge mess there at the end, I think. So I think it's much appreciated.
Yeah. So that was cool. So thank you guys for taking the time to do that. I'm of the opinion that I don't like refs having a lot of power in my games. Give me the tools to be able to break camps myself, right? Because now we're going to run into the issue of, like everyone's saying, ref discretion. Refs got to be on it this season. You've empowered the refs, which is a good thing, but I also think it's a bad thing too, right? Because now they have more power than ever, and they need to make these calls. Because if I'm captain of the squad, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make your refs do it. Right? I'm going to sit to the left side of my base on Apollo for as long as you let me. And if you let me do it for 30 minutes, then cool. Right? By doing this, you've empowered the refs to have to do their job. And hopefully they're paying attention, so a big spotlight's going to be on them for this.
I mean, to that I can say, I guess I'm happy that you bailed on the squad this season so that you won't be doing that to me. But also, you're right. Honestly, everything that you guys are saying, I 100% agree with. Like I said, it's the one area of the rules.
It does put a lot of responsibility on referees.
100%. And it's the one area of the rules where I couldn't figure out a way to write it that would take out that human element. Mm-hmm. And I'm like open to anybody submitting me.
I am more than happy to trust my fortunes in Grump and Victim and the like. So I think it's a good change and a much needed change. Mecca, did you have any final comments on this?
Yeah, I mean, the least amount of ref discretion possible is good with me because if you think about it in like NFL terms, like defensive pass interference that's like not reviewable can literally change the whole game. So once you add that human element into it, and it's not just black and white in the rules, it's like Eric Guadamiro, it's a pipeline for appeals because then you're holding your appeal against a ref's opinion instead of what the solid rules are. I'm not saying I have the answer there, or this is not best for what we have currently. Just my opinion is the least amount of ref discretion, the better.
All right. So
Rom, just before we hop off this one topic, I do want to, just knowing that the other captains are going to be listening to this, or likely will be listening to this. Section 5, the match setup, has also had a big overhaul in it, and that's a little bit to make ref lives easier. So if you are a captain, I highly recommend you read that, but it gives you the whole pre 15-minute breakdown on how matches will be set up, including what the captain responsibilities are, because that was very fuzzy in the old rules.
Okay. So kind of a primer for captains and co-captains going into the season. Go ahead and reach that Section 5 match setup so you can be prepared for what the referees are going to expect you to know going into a game.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. All right. With that, let's move on to, we've had some class changes this season. Bowen, I want you to help me with this. I'm just going to give kind of the headline, and we could all comment on it if we need to, but we've talked about it a lot, and there was some posts from Bowen as well. First up, light machine gunner. I think the only change, the real big change that is noteworthy, I should say, would be that magazines are reduced from 50 to 45 bullets. Is that right?
Yep, it's the only change, actually. So, yeah.
Okay. Assault Trooper, aka the AT. Unlimited dashes are returned, but the cooldown goes from 30 to 90 seconds on that dash. Is that right?
That's cool. Yeah, it is. But I still think that there needs to be a way, and I think we mentioned Axis possibly taking a look at this. The dash stays on cooldown after you die, and I feel like that should be reset because 90 seconds to wait after you dash, and then say you dash and die, you're stuck.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can get that fixed.
Or if you're using it in like pregame too, and the game starts, it doesn't refresh either.
I was gonna say that too, yeah, because it happens like between like when the game starts up. If you just use it, it's gone for like 90 seconds. That's so weird.
That would be really nice to have. Absolutely. Finally, next up we have Ranger, our new class. This replaces the outgoing sniper as a more combat engaged class. Talk to me about that one, Bowen.
Yeah, so it has a long range rifle that does about 40 damage. It has a throwing knife that also does 40 damage. And it has a PDW-esque weapon. So I forgot what we called it already.
MP5,
but
is it?
Yeah, MP5. Thank you. Yes. And shoots pink bullets, and it does about 14 damage a shot. It's very similar to, but it's shorter range than an AR or something like that. It shoots fairly quick. So
it melts close range.
Yes, it's made. Yeah, the class is made actually to work a little more close range. The snipes will have a little bit less of a minimum range on them, so you can hit enemies when they're closer than when you could with sniper. So it's really made to push in and do damage.
All right. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens this season with the class. Looking forward to seeing which players decide to try it. Any comments on the Ranger from anybody else?
Seems fun.
I mean, I've had a lot of fun with it in the SBs that I've played it. I mean, it's essentially designed, or it plays as designed. That MP5 shoots as fast as LMG. Maybe it feels a little bit faster. So if you get up close and hit your shots, they don't really know what hit them. That being said, I think it's the same range as PDW. So you can easily distance yourself from that, but then you fall back into possible snipes, which again is only 40 damage, not the 60 or 80 damage that snipers used to put out. So it's got a decent balance to it. The knife itself is also good. It's 3 shots, and if you hit all 3, that person is dead.
Yeah. I'm interested to see who starts using the class and kind of the combination of those shots and how what the meta becomes.
I think
yeah, go ahead.
Just
Mecca.
the one quick thing on Ranger. I think that people are going to be surprised on how little it's used on some maps. So I think it's a good class, but I think it's situational. I don't think it's like the next Marine or LMG like everybody seems to be freaking out about. I don't think you'll see it in every game this season. Like there might be even a whole week on like, is it even good on Apollo's map? Like maybe Bax uses it on, because
I don't think it is
winning, but it's not good on Apollo's. And depending on the other map roles, like, would you use it on Kaiser Pass? Maybe. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I don't think it's going to be used as much as people think it is, but I don't think it's because it's in balance. I just think it's just because it's an opportunity class, and same reason you don't use Ripper, even though Ripper is a really good class. So I just want to partition people's expectations of it being played every week, even though it is a good class.
Understood. Well, we'll see. It's a new class for season 25. Excited to see what becomes of it. If it needs any changes, we'll address those at the end of the season, I think. And then finally, the class that we looked at was Medic. We experimented with and ultimately rejected the use of biodarts. I think that's the only thing we looked at. Medic is going to stay the same. Is that right, Bowen?
You rejected biodarts.
Specifically, I rejected biodarts. Fuck biodarts.
Can I ask why? Why are we not using biodarts?
Because it's not the medic. Because first of all, second of all, if you don't, again, it just I've said this. I've made this argument several times. It rewards the person with the better aim in a class that already is rewarded with better aim. Like if you can use the PDW, you're already a much better medic. And if you're better at dodging, you're already a better medic. Then you add the biodart to it, and the skill gap difference is just widening. The only thing you're doing is making a good medic a better medic. You're not making everybody good at the same time.
So your argument is that we should punish people who are more skilled in infantry?
No, my argument is that the medic is a spatial healer, and it was designed just like the Marine. It is a fundamental piece of what makes skirmish league, any kind of skirmish league, successful.
But in a time where nobody wants to play medic, and you see half the medics playing Marine, like Staley and Fax and Iron, we want to do things to.
I think Fairfax and Staley are both on my side on this argument. I think neither one of them really wanted medic best anymore. If medic is just chef's kiss, leave it alone. Leave it alone.
It's already so bad that your best medics in the league are playing Marine.
We need to fix the heals.
We have an opportunity to get more people to play medic, and we're saying no. It's too much skill.
I don't think biodarts is the thing that's like, oh my god, I'm definitely playing medic now, but maybe I'm wrong.
You are.
Okay. I'm on Rom's side on this because I've talked to a couple of people. Now this is just pub, right? They absolutely hated biodart in pub. A bunch of those guys were like, "What is this? Why is this a thing?" And then other people, they liked it too because, like you guys are saying, it makes good players better, right?
Well, we can't just keep nerfing classes because good players are good at classes.
I mean, I get you on that, but at the same
thing with AP, same thing with demo.
Iron already stands out significantly on the class. Give him biodarts, and Iron is unstoppable.
He's on your squad.
I know. I'm trying to be even. What can I say?
No, I'll tell you. Here's how you fix
better at med when he's already the best med. Like, what's the difference?
It's time for him to get haywire grenades. All right.
Yeah,
that's all that needs to be.
Just give me a rocket launcher. Let me go in.
I think med is good as it is too. To be honest.
Then why are all good meds playing Marine?
Because they have to play Marine because we need killers too. I don't know if y'all know this, but the population is significantly decreasing the amount of killers that you actually have.
Guys like Fairfax and Iron always could play Marine. They just never got a chance to really try it. Well, now we got base players that can play Medic, so why not try it?
Because Medic is awful, and all our good meds are playing Marine.
Fairfax doesn't hate playing Medic. He's just bored.
Because it's a bad class.
So what
because he's been playing it for 20 seasons.
Anything?
50 seasons. Excuse me. What'd you say?
What would you do to spice up Medic?
I think we need to fix the heal. We need to fix the server issues that affect the Medic the most. And also area of heal. If I was going to change anything, I'd probably change the area of heal. Make it a little bit wider. But that's me.
Okay, all this sounds like is Ron doesn't like it because he doesn't have hands. And that's fine.
I'm not disagreeing.
But no, hold on. Like as a medic too, right? Like medic doesn't need another heal vector, right? Like that isn't going to make the game more fun. It's going to make the best players better. Honestly, fair enough. Like their medic doesn't have a lot of skill expression right now. You have your nades and your PDW as ways that you can like get in and help a fight. That being said, I don't think biodarts are the answer. I think the actual real answer is an offensive tool for medics, like either some sort of poison dart or a sleep dart or anything that actually gives. I mean, even Yosh's suggestion of haywire grenades is more appealing to me than a biodart.
Okay. I need to move us into our next agenda item. We have limited time, so we need to get to it. The maps for season 25, Mecca brought it up earlier. Bowen tonight is going to be spinning the wheel live for we've already got the number, the first map for weeks 1 and 2, Bowen, right? What is that?
That is, I already forgot. Apollo's. Thank you, Brain.
Apollo's map, yes. And then, so we're spinning for the maps, or for weeks 3 through 6, right? Am I correct in saying that? Okay.
Yep. So 3 and 4 will be one map, then 5 and 6 will be another map.
Tell us what the options are that are going to be spun for, I guess I should say.
For the people who are watching live, I will share my screen so they can watch it, and so they don't know I'm not doing any funny shenanigans. So I will turn that on right now. Yep. Yeah, right. So current options are UD, CV, Bomb, EC. I talked to a couple captains. A lot of people did not want KP in this thing. I don't think anybody really wants to play on KP. It's just not a great map. So yeah, KP was removed. Apollo is still up there, but you can see it's hidden because it won the first roll. So yeah, the next maps will be chosen by the spin. So.
Okay. Well, I guess let's go ahead. Bowen, tell us what the spin of wheel hath wrought.
Yeah, so weeks 3 and 4 will be Bombs map. Looks like.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know, right? All right. So Bombs map is week 3 and 4, and then the last map is going to be UD, looks like.
Urban Decay. All right. So we have Apollo's map for weeks 1 and 2. We have Bomb's map for weeks 3 and 4. And we have Urban Decay for weeks 5 and 6.
Yep.
Okay. Is there any news on how postseason is going to be selected? Are we intending to poll the captains and co-captains again of the playoff squads, to determine that like last season? Or are we doing something different this season?
I will have an answer for that by week 3, I think.
Okay. All right. Well, there's your maps for the season. Any immediate reactions from the panel?
Only both weeks are 5 and 6.
Tragic.
UD's going to be fun, though. I enjoyed.
You'll see Ranger on Bombs, almost guaranteed. So that's a one silver lining, I guess.
Okay.
Good luck on that Bombs map.
Everybody should be playing Rangers on Bombs. It would be stupid not to.
I think it'll be viable on UD as well, honestly.
With so many fucking trees in the way? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You forget how many trees block your streams in UD.
All right, guys.
South will cover it, but yeah.
Well, let's move into kind of the real substance of this show. We're going to do the breakdown now for the squads for season 24. First up, I want to set up the squads. We're going to kind of go through them alphabetically. At the end of each squad, I'm going to take a pause and go around to the panel and let them all make their comments about the squad. What they see as the strengths and weaknesses of the squad. If they want to set out what they see as a starting lineup, that would make sense. But basically, just give their outline of the squad, and then at the very end, we're going to come back and they're going to give a power ranking. So let's start with Birds. First up, they have Aerith, aka Staley, Colossal, Fairfax, Kaga, Nosekeeper, Pandy, Rio, Taco, aka Slob, Tactical, and The Gift. Mecca, let's go to you first.
Yeah, do you want us to do starting lineups too?
If you want to include them here, yeah, absolutely. However you want to do the analysis.
This one's an interesting one, is why I ask, because it's gonna be kind of a guess. But I think it's gonna be. I think either Aerith or Fax is gonna have to med. Referring to our old conversation. I know that Kaga just joined. I don't know how active he'll be or if he'll med. So I think either Aerith, Fax, med, and then Slob is the other one, aka Taco. And then you'll have Tactical, TG, Rio, Pandy, Fax, Colossal, and then Aerith and Slob med. I don't know how active Nos is going to be this season or if he shows up at all. I'm sure they'll play Kaga when he shows. Over who? I'm not sure. Maybe they do play him med. I think they're going to have some starting lineup questions because then you have Pandy. Basically, everybody on their squad right now can start at pretty much for any squad in the league almost. So they're going to have some interesting questions. I think their medic department's going to be a little weak. I thought Bonds was the better medic, one of the better medics in the league last season, and it doesn't look like they want to recruit him for whatever reason. So I think they're gonna have an interesting medic situation where, I think Staley's a better med than a Marine, so maybe that does strengthen him up. But yeah, overall, I think they're gonna have a pretty good season. They're pretty good on Bombs map, or they should be at least. On a Paul's map, I'm sure they'll be good too. And then UD, they did struggle a little bit in the champ game, but they had a lead early in previous seasons. So we'll see how they do on that map. But overall, I think they'll do pretty well.
Let's go to Yosh.
Yeah, I think this squad looks solid. Need a couple more players, which there's tons in the free agency pool right now that they could pick up just to kind of fill out the roster. Other than that, the pickup of Colossal from last season is huge. I think he brings a lot to their team, and I look forward to seeing what they're able to do.
All right. Let's go to Grump.
Yeah, I mean, squad's a powerhouse. I think you see Taco, aka Slob, aka the worst name change ever from Hot Dog.
True.
Between so it's gonna be Hot Dog and Staley Medding. After that, I mean, you just fill it in with a bunch of killers. Like it doesn't. I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but like there's no bad name on that list.
All right. Bowen.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of been said. They need a couple more players. I'd be curious to see who they pick up. But yeah, I mean, the rest has been said.
And Eric.
Yeah, I'm going to give my lineup based on the fact that I'm assuming everybody's going to show. Will that be the case throughout the season? Who knows? But I'm a little bit different from Mecca. I think it's TG, Fax, Medic, because PoE 2 is coming out and Staley's probably going to go inactive. Kaga, Colossal, Nas, if he's also not playing PoE 2, Tactical, Rio, and Slob. I think that is their best lineup by far. And to me, out of that lineup, the only weakness I see is the Medic, just because I think Fax might be a little over aggressive because he's been playing Marine the last 2 seasons. So he'll need to get himself back into that Medic mentality of not being out front, because he will get focused out quickly if he is. I think the strength is obviously their firepower, and of the returning squads and new squads, I think TG's leadership was missed last season, and it's going to prove to be quite the strength for them this season.
I agree with pretty much everything you said there, Eric. It's such a strong lineup. Just looking at the names and looking at the way they're probably going to run the squad, it is a question. The big question is going to be activity. It's going to be how many of these guys are active over the course of the season. If you have all of them, this is such a strong squad, and they have an ability to counter just about anything you can throw at them. The question is medics, and I think what you guys are saying is exactly right. If it's Fairfax, Staley, and Slob as your 3 kind of, depending on who's available that week, kind of going between them, I think that's a really strong medic core. Very, very strong team, and it'd just going to be interesting and a question mark about who shows week to week. Let's move ahead to Dark Slayers. The roster currently, Chucky, Dead, a.k.a. Abath, Emperor, Ender, Head, King, Metal, Scarface, SK, a.k.a. Jake, and then X5. Mecca?
This is going to be an interesting squad. I think everybody's going to jump on the fact that Ender's on here, but I don't know how much he's actually going to show, if he shows at all. So I'm just going to exclude him from my lineup. So I'm going to say King, X5. I think X5 is going to med. He had a pretty decent season last season on Suicide Squad medding. So I would stick him as med. He's good Marine too, but I would stick him as med. So I do King, X5, SK, Scarface, Metal, probably like LMG, Emp, Dead, Medic, and then probably Chucky. I'm assuming they're probably going to pick somebody else up. Do they pick up a Manu or a Typhoon or a Brilhart or a Fausto? Someone that I'm sure they're going to get an SK vet or 2 that will probably slide into the starting lineup, but I'm sure they'll probably spread their playtime around. I think they'll be okay. They'll be more competitive than I think people think they will. Because I think they're going to play pretty slow because they're going to probably overload with support classes. I think they beat TSS pretty handedly, and they maybe play some of the top squads competitively, but I think they'll have a good season, and I think they will shock at least one squad this season.
Yeah, thank you, Faterio, for bringing this squad with mostly CTFers. He tried to do it last season. These guys should be a very, very good surprise throughout the league. If people don't take them seriously, we could see some upsets. Tyrael is actually a competent player and a leader. He's been on multiple squads in the past in skirmish. X5 is a good solid med here. They have a lot of potential and talent. I'm not counting on Ender showing up. If he does, that's cool. I think the standout is actually on this roster is I'm gonna say Chucky. I know in CTF he just got a new monitor, and he's got a bigger Rezo, which is obviously gonna fit in the skirmish. So he's my player to watch on this team.
Let's go to Grump.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these names are big names. I think we get X5 Abith. Sorry, big names in CTF rather. We get X5 and Abith as medics. I agree with Yosh. The player to watch out for on this roster is Chucky. Chucky was an old skirmish league legend, even though he's a CTF player at heart. If you're looking for somebody to come back and play Ranger, that's who you're looking at. I actually also disagree with everybody. I do think Ender's going to show up. I have some sort of insider information on that one, but I do somewhat expect him to show. And then after that, I think the roster gets a little bit fuzzy, but I think it's going to be a squad that's capable of some upsets, and that's really good and nice for the league.
All right, let's go, Bowen.
Yeah, I mean, fully agree. A lot of it's already been said. I kind of echoed the idea that Ender may not show, but if you think he will, that's awesome. Like, really great to hear. I also question like Head sometimes struggles to show up on Sundays. Scarface can struggle to show up on Sundays. SK will only show up on Sundays. So I mean, their activity kind of worries me, I guess, in a way. But like these guys can surprise people. I mean, when they SB'd last season, they surprised us. They were really good. So yeah, I mean, it's a solid squad. You just got to be careful when you play them.
Yeah, I mean, looking at their lineup again, looking at all these squads, I'm assuming that everybody is showing. So my lineup was Metal, X5 Med, Tyrell, whatever support class he decides to play, Abith Med, Ender, Scarface, Emp, and Chucky. I mean, if Ender truly shows, and I mean, he did help them beat Bax in that bet under the alias Fire, if I recall correctly. So he doesn't really need much to unrust. I think he can definitely carry them to a win over TSS and possibly over one of the other top squads. I know he's very good friends with Tyrell. I think they're in a WoW guild together. So if Tyrell asks him to show, I think he will show up. So I agree with Grump there. In regards to picking up some extra players, I think you actually, because Grump kind of maybe a little bit of a slip, he kept referring to them as we. So I think Grump and Typhoon actually joined these guys for some SK veteran to kind of help some of these CTFers out and learn the maps and the ropes. My biggest concern is how frequently Tyrell will change support classes like he's done in the past, because that can really make or break your momentum in some of these matches and depending on the map. But I do expect a pretty good showing from these guys, especially if that lineup shows.
Grump and Typhoon as a pickup to be really big, because I agree with everybody here that they need more players. That's a big issue. They just need a bigger lineup with more options right now. I also agree with you guys. The medics look pretty good for this team. I think Abith. I've been kind of high on Abith at least definitely last season. I think he's very quality. I think he's going to continue to get better. And I do like X5. I think he did very well at the end of last season as well. And I think you mentioned, I think Metal can play the class too. So you got three quality people that can play it. If they were to add somebody like Grump, who is currently on the free agent list, I think that would be an even bigger pickup, because I think Grump would probably become the number one medic on that team. So that would be that's definitely something they should look at, is just adding some pieces to this roster. I am really excited, like Grump mentioned, to add Chucky back. He is a skirmish legend, and I haven't seen him play skirmish in many years. So except for those SBs that Bowen mentioned, so I'm really looking forward to seeing him and what he's able to do in the season. Tyrell, as Yosh pointed out, is also a skirmish legend, and I'm glad to see him back in the game. And helming this squad. I think it'll benefit from his leadership. And Ender, if he plays, that's nostalgia written all over it. Chucky, Tyrell, and Ender. I appreciate Tyrell for bringing back that, for nothing else, for nostalgia purposes, as a lover of nostalgia, as everyone knows. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the team. Looking forward to seeing what they do. But they do need to add more people, I think. Let's go next to Jersey Boys. Currently, the roster is Eva, G, aka Splitta, Ghost Bomber, Kevin, Leak, Ninja, One, aka Havoc, Pister, Samara, and Victim.
Yeah, I mean, this is just NWO Part 2, right? Like, I don't think they've really changed many people at all. Looks like they added the mountain. Was that today? I didn't see that. But
Oh, that happened
Literally,
after it?
literally less than an hour ago. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, I was gonna say them. I didn't see it in log. I just saw it there.
I called it last night, so a good pickup for them.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of all expected it, but definitely a good pickup. Adds an extra killer to their lineup, which I think they sorely need. Because the last season, I think you kind of saw it against the tough squads. Aside from the playoffs, it was basically just Ninja opening up battles. I think you saw Splitta have a couple of really bad games. Kevin had a couple of really bad games against the top squads. So I think adding Mountain there, it gives you that extra ceiling that can have a good game against a top squad. So sorry, I was reading pub. But I don't know who you sit for him. I don't know if Ninja's going to show up. Maybe he just slides into that Ninja slot. Maybe Pister goes medic. I don't know what their plan is there because they kind of have a set lineup. But with Victim and one doesn't show every week, so maybe Pister's playing some medic for him. Something along those lines. I'm not exactly sure what their lineup's going to be. They have 9 starters, which is never really a bad thing. So we'll see what happens there. But they should be pretty competent. I think they're fighting to be kind of in the middle of the pack. I think they'll be better than the bottom, but I don't think they'll beat some of the top squads either.
Yeah, this team needs one more solid medic in case Havoc can't show or Victim doesn't show a week. You have Eva on the roster, which is pretty good. I know she's been learning skirmish. And I think she already had a season with one of that dude's squads that didn't go particularly well. So hopefully Pister gets her some play time, and she's another person that we can add in the league that can be a solid medic. These guys have killers on the roster. I expect to see a bounce back here from Splitta. I know last season he didn't have particularly a good season when it came to like top teams. I think he struggled a little bit in that aspect. But I expect a better season from him. The Mountain, I think he's going to be the leading killer on this team. He's going to put up massive kills, especially with not having to lead anymore, and that pressure is taken off of him. You're going to see the old Mountain return. Some would say the Fortnite Mountain is back.
Grump?
Yeah, I'll go in. This looks to me like another really strong roster. I think everybody's talked about it so far, but I think the pickup of FCV is a huge pickup. It gives them a little bit more firepower than they had last year. The other thing is that last year when Pister died, they sometimes looked a little bit lost, and having the Mountain there, even to just backup call, I think is going to be a big deal for them. I think that's a new angle, a new tool for Pister. That being said, I agree with everybody else. They probably need, maybe 1 or 2 other big killers or a medic to make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think they need a killer and a medic. Victim and One are clearly their top medics, I feel like. But if either one of them are missing, no offense to Eva, you can put her in, but she's still very much learning the game as far as skirmish goes. So they have 9 players, but you have to swap one of those for a medic, and it's kind of hard to pick which one. So yeah, I mean, solid team, NWO 2.0 with some bonuses. Just pick up a couple more.
Yeah, I mean, with you guys announcing the Mountain joins, Splitta will have a better season by being on the bench. I think he sits on the bench for Mountain and Ninja shows up. So it will be Pister, Kevin, Leak, Mountain, Sammy, One, Victim, and Samara. I think if Victim or One don't show, I think they did bring back Sun, and he showed at times that he was very capable of being a solid medic when he wasn't trolling. So yeah, I mean, I think these guys can up if that lineup shows they can upset Sparta, they can upset Birds. It's all dependent on how they play, and especially if they get home against any of those two squads on Apollo's map. They will play. This is the squad that, we spoke about the rules. It's this same crew, minus like Bax, who is on the other side of it, looking to exploit rules. And that's why all those amendments, and it's why it became a clusterfuck as to why we had to rewrite the rules, right? So I look at these guys possibly contesting for the top squads versus being in the middle of the pack.
You guys have said a lot of stuff that I agree with here. I think that the mountain pickup is enormous. It is so big and kind of solves a lot of the problems that I would have said for this roster earlier on. I think, Victim and Havoc, fantastic pairing there. If you have to play somebody else, you do. I think maybe they should look at picking up Brilhard or something, just in the case that happens. I think that would be a really good, way to shore up the roster there. The last season, Eric and I both praised that Ninja's role as a Marine was just, he was so good. Even in the games that they did not play up to snuff on, he was still kind of a bright spot for them. I think another one in that same vein was Kevin. Kevin and Ninja together had amazing seasons last season, and I'd like to see them carry that over. And if they're adding the mountain to it and letting him have the versatility to kind of choose the class, I think that'll go really well for the three of them. Leak needs to have a better season than he did last season. I think that he's been coming back into his form. He had games where he was good, but overall, I don't think it was a great season for him. And a good season for him would be a difference maker for this team as well. And Pister has been a steady stalwart for the roster last season. And I think his leadership again will be really good. And I really like what the point that was made earlier, that if Pister goes down, now you have the mountain to take over. That's a really good point, and I think that this roster benefits a lot from the people they have. They kind of all complement each other. They might need a guy like Brilhard or maybe Typhoon would be another good one there too, to kind of just bring in to say, if somebody doesn't show, this is a really good fill-in. So it's a promising roster, and they could really upset some people. I agree with what everybody's saying there. Let's go on to Sparta, which is Ace, new addition, Bowen, CC, DMX, a.k.a. Shasta, God, a.k.a. ESO, Iron, Jedi, a.k.a. Eric, Posty, Romulocks, Sabotage, Sauron, a.k.a. Mercy, Sith, a.k.a. Mecca, and the Great Chompy.
Yeah, I think we have an interesting squad this season. I think that we have, if you compare starters, I think we have, maybe the best group of starters, maybe second next to Birds. I think our bench is a little bit weaker than Birds, but I don't think that'll matter as much. I know Eric wanted to develop some new-ish players again and rescue some players from Nexus and get them on a good squad and build back those good habits again. So kudos on that. So hopefully we'll be able to spread out a lot of play time this year, and we won't just see just the starters the whole time. Should be contending for a title. I think if not, it's kind of a letdown of a season. Even like I said, with the weak bench, I think the starters are strong enough to contend for a champ, if not win it.
Yeah, overall, this is a kind of a mismatch of three squads. You have the former DX squad that kind of faded along. You have Nexus, which was a bottom tier team, and then you added Shasta and Sabo into this mix. And overall, they have a pretty solid roster. I hear Iron is going to be medding this season, which, if that's true, that's huge for these guys, because I was looking around and you have CC, you have Rom. Those are two pretty solid meds, so I'm interested to see who really fits into that second med spot. I haven't seen CC in the game, so Rom you're up. Now's the time, Rom, to pick
Seize
it up.
the moment.
Yep. Don't let it be a little bit too big for you, like you said to me.
I got to carpe the medic, is what you're telling me right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the interesting pickup here, and the guy that I want to see the most, is Ace. Kudos for Eric for picking up that guy. He's, been around the infantry community. He's, the head moderator, I think, or game dev or whatever you want to call him. He's the big guy. And him joining the league is awesome to see. We welcome Ace, and I'm excited to see what Eric can do when training him up, and because he's been pretty good in pub. So yeah, I look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in next here. I agree that the starters for the squad look great, but I also agree that as soon as you get a little bit into the depth, things start to get a little bit questionable, and I think that comes from Eric doing a very interesting experiment and seeing what he can do, who he can bring up, and what playtime he can spread around. Kudos for that. That's a very noble goal. I really am looking forward to see how this team turns out.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of the mixed match that you guys mentioned before. It's gonna be a fun season. If I play or don't play, or I play one game, like it's it doesn't matter to me. It's I'm curious to see what Chompy turns into, especially with some guidance. There's some guys in this team who can really just go off posty if he can keep his CTF energy under control. He's going to go nuts. Like there's a lot of elements that can really just, if something clicks, they will explode. So I look forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take the guesswork out of it. I will say that our starting lineup, at least against Birds, would look like, as long as everybody's active again, that's how all my lineups have been. It's myself, Mecca, ESO, Iron Med, CC Med, Chompy, and Shasta, and Sabotage. That is my starting lineup against Birds if everybody shows and everybody's active. My goal, as everybody's already said, is to train some of these guys up, specifically Chompy and Posty, because I know Yosh and I were talking about it. We kind of did Posty a disservice last season and didn't really tune into like really helping to develop him. And through the SBs over the last few weeks, he's still taking some bad deaths, but he's putting up kills. So if we can limit that, he's definitely going to get a lot of play time. I want Ace to. Again, getting these guys some guidance is going to be fun. The struggle for us, and it's going to fall on me, is I cannot let myself get too invested on what they are doing in the middle of the match, because every time I do that in the SBs, I take bad deaths. So I need to limit that because I need to be up. Point blank and simple. So as long as I can fix that for myself, I think we'll do just fine.
I'll leave it there. I think everybody said everything about that. Let's go ahead and move forward to Talking Smack Sunday. First up, we have Ann Berlin, aka Bax. That's what the alias he's using for today. Brett the Hitman Hart, aka Universal Soldier 2K. Chica, Enemy, Game Freak 321, Jim, MTR3, Nugget OG, Smack Rock, Spoils, That Dude, Tracks a Million, and Zloy.
Yeah, I think this squad is going to go back to kind of like Hellcat status instead of the last couple seasons when they had Manu to lead. And the year before, I think they had like Ernie and a couple other people join late. Typhoon, I think, too. So I think this, and no Marvel either. So it's going to be Smack Rock leading. So I think we're going to see like Hellcat status out of this team, unfortunately. You'll see Bax get a couple kills, but the rest of the team will be dying as he's trying to hit sick Ranger shots from a million miles away, and leaving his medics to just die. And then I don't think Jim's can play on Sundays, but I would love to see him play a few games. He's a good dude. He's a kind of the voice of CTF announcing right now, so I'd love to see him play some games, but I just don't know if he will or not. As far as other players go to look out for, not a lot. Uni kind of sucks that Uni's back on the squad again. Kind of wish he joined like Jersey Boys or something, or if Mountain Squad stayed around, he would have had some playtime on them as well. Everybody else is kind of, I think, exactly who you think they are. Zeloy maybe he does something, but he's pretty inconsistent. He'll have a good game and then he'll look like he's never played the game before, so it's hard to tell with him.
Yeah, this is pretty much Crusaders V2 without Octavian.
Yeah, player.
Yeah, Octavian, missing from this roster is pretty big. I heard there was a lot of drama. Some people stabbing each other in the back in the off season. The real juice is coming out. The standout player, obviously, on this team now, since Octavian is gone, is going to be Bax. Does he play the new Ranger class? I don't think he does. I think he goes to LMG, and he should do fine on that. Obviously, Uni's going to be inconsistent, but for the most part, I've seen Uni killing it lately. So we may have to put that inconsistency rumor to bed. I would like to see him. I think if you put Uni on, maybe Dark Slayers, he could help elevate them with just a little bit of veteran presence. But, kudos to him for sticking by his guys and sticking with who he knows. The guy that I'm looking forward to see, and hopefully he gets game time in, is Game Freak. I played with him in the draft league last season. Not a bad O-heavy, was just coming back into the game and has been really active in CTF. And I think if these guys focus in on him, he should be a pretty good player for them.
Yeah, I'll go next. I mean, there's not a lot to say that hasn't already been said on this squad. The one thing that I will double up on is that I'm really looking at Game Freak. I think he's going to have a standout year. I don't think he's the next Chompy, but I do think that he's somebody coming from CTF who's going to be able to hang in USL if he gets into it. So hopefully, things aren't too crazy on this roster and he actually gets a fair shake of things. That being said, I mean, the odds of the roster that we're looking at now being the roster that's there by the end of the season is so low, given that it's a back squad. So I don't really know how much to get into it.
Yeah, I mean, that's valid too, and looking at it as well, Smackrock's the only captain on the squad. There are no co-captains, and I'm looking at it and it's like, you give co-captain to Chica, or, like it's really hard to look at this and be like, yeah, this person could probably be co, right? And Uni, I think on a better squad and a better lineup, like I think he would shine. Being on squads like this, I feel like it gives him some bad habits as well. And I hope he stands out. I really do. I like Uni. He's a good dude. But it's hard to stand out whenever you are falling into habits that people around you are doing. And I agree. I think Bax plays LMG. I don't think he's played a lot of Ranger in the SBs this offseason. But even on LMG, he tends to be a little bit hyper aggressive on that class, like being way out in front, stuff like that. So he plays the class kind of differently, which is fine. But he does tend to get focused out that way. So we'll see how it goes. As mentioned, Jim, I would love to see him play some, but he's hard to get in game, and he's hard to get in game not lagging because if he lives in like way overseas somewhere. But yeah, it's good squad. I appreciate Smackrock for coming in and bringing these guys around too. So yeah.
Bax is going to get focused out because his keybind for his left strafe and his fire is the same key still, so he's just going to get focused out regardless.
Forgot about that.
I'm really surprised that Smackrock sat there all last season and really weathered the storm with all the drama that was going on. I would have expected him to move away from that, but again, kudos to him to captaining the squad and bringing in a fit squad. With that said, I think with Jim not being able to play, possibly he was in my starting lineup. I'll sub him out for Game Freak, Smackrock, Chica Med. That dude Med, even though we all don't want him to Med because he's always out of position and he's too aggressive and he just dies and lets his Marines die. Tracks and backs with Uni and Enemy, as long as Enemy isn't AFK. I mean, they might give Darkslayers a little bit of a run just because they know the maps better. But after that, once Darkslayer starts actually getting active and SBing and learning the maps, I think these guys lose every game this season.
I don't disagree with your result. I hope for their sake it's a fun season, though. I do think there's some possibilities, but the question is, where's your leadership coming from? I assume it's going to be all Smackrock. Yeah, I hope for their sake it is. MTR3 and Chica, I think, would be successful medics if they didn't want that dude to do the job. Enemy, I have nothing but praise for Enemy last season. I thought he played very well towards the end of the season. He was a kind of a bright spot, joined the squad a little bit later. But I really like Enemy on the squad. Smack, particularly Uni, as everybody has said, Uni has been very consistently solid in the past, actually 2 seasons, really. And particularly since he got that new monitor. And I do think, I agree with what everybody else said. He deserved a chance with a big boy squad, but he's sticking by his guys. That's an admirable trait. and I think he deserves to be rewarded for it. Hopefully, he's a bright spot. If he and Bax are shooting at the same target, they can do some real damage. So, I want the best for these guys, but I do think it may be a struggle of a season. Very interested to see, particularly Jim, Game Freak, and Nugget OG. Good to see some new blood and to see those guys trying to find a place that a play style. Also, Zloy, a chance for Zloy to show what he's really made of. So, interesting roster there. They'll probably pick up some names as well. Going into, we do have some notable absences. I kind of want to just ask the guys about. Currently Grump, Flo, Typhoon, Brillhart, Stoink, Phony, ATR, Fausto, Octavian, Envy, Manu, Fresh, Lunatic, Dracolic, Templar, and there are many, many more on the free agent list. Currently, that seems enough to make a 6 squad. But do we see these guys as being active enough to be a 6 squad, or more just picked up piecemeal by the other 5? If you just want to just haul out your answers, no need for any uniformity. Just what do you guys think?
Picked up because nobody wants a captain.
Anybody else?
That's literally it.
I actually have a mailbag question about that coming up.
I don't have a mailbag, so you better put it in right now.
So, okay, well, here it goes then. Do you guys think the league banning Bax from being a captain is pretty dumb? I mean, we would have 6 squads right now if he was allowed to captain.
No,
It's
we would not.
that he cannot captain a squad, and then poof, we only have 5.
We would not have 6 squads. They would be the same members that are on TSS now.
Yep. TSS would just be maybe one player different. They would have the Nazi werewolf.
So
instead of
here's a counter argument to that, though. Yes, this is primarily Crusaders, right? But
Yeah.
he could technically run a different squad and pick up all the MAGA guys that are floating around in free agents.
Nobody would join him.
Nobody would. No,
You
the
don't think
MAGA
so?
I don't think enough of them would join him to make a squad.
And if they did, after one game, they would legit leave, and it
Right.
would just turn into a fade.
I do think that
We'd
what
be back
happened
down
last
5.
season was really
See,
bad, and we need to
I'm
try
gonna
to
go ahead
avoid
and
that.
say, I'm gonna go ahead and say here, y'all don't give him enough credit. For many seasons, he actually held a team together. Now, granted, it was mostly with the guys on Crusaders, but what's stopping that from having the
He
same?
doesn't-
I think he
success?
can do that as
He
a
doesn't
support
lead.
player on Talking Smack Sunday. If he wants to prove that, he can prove it this season in the way he supports his team on TSS.
I mean, you join a squad with Bax as captain, and he just doesn't lead. How long do you think those people stay there that aren't used to it?
Well, who's
I was-
saying he couldn't go pick up a leader though? There's plenty of guys that are floating around that would lead potentially, but may not
I-
captain a squad.
Who?
I don't think it's
Menu?
a term or
Correct.
I don't think the
Uni?
situation is who's gonna lead. I think the situation is a lot of these guys that are on free agents, like you guys have already said, most of the people that play with backs are this lineup in TSS. The second some of these new guys get accustomed to how backs acts, at least in game, and they already hear or see his reputation, they're gonna get over it real quick and they're gonna be done. And that's not to say Bax is a bad guy, because if you actually sit there and talk to him on Discord, completely different person.
Yep.
But that's just it. How willing will some of these guys who have never played with him be to deal with his antics in game?
Well,
Yeah, I don't think you see somebody like Typhoon or Brillhart join Bax.
I think here's
I
the
don't think
thing.
they would
I
at
think
all.
if theoretically, right, if he could get one domino to fall, you would see everybody else fall in line.
I don't think
Right.
so.
Because there's a lot of people on that free agents list that could be
there's a
decent
lot.
players.
There's a lot of activity on that free agents list too, more than you'd think.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah,
guys are
like-
underestimating the people who, if people like Bax or not. which
I,
most of them
And,
do.
I don't.
well,
I don't
here's the
disagree with
thing.
you on that point. I mean, I just don't see a guy like ATR putting up with it. Frankly,
I
Right.
mean,
Or
you got-
Typhoon or Brillhart or any of those guys.
what if
Or
the Dark
Grump.
Lord rises again?
Like I
Saab
can
oh
wouldn't-
man,
Saab
If-
would never play with
Boom!
Bax.
There you go. Soft likes backs.
I've asked Saab about recruiting Bax before, and he said absolutely not. So I don't think that would play with him.
I mean, the quest to get backs a ring, that could be the motivation right there.
well,
You-
well,
you know,
more to
he's
come
done
in the
it all.
season. We'll see what drama brings in season 25. Let's move on now to the power rankings. Let's go ahead and get this done. Mecca, I want you to rank 1 through 5 what you see happening by the end of the season. That's not to talk about postseason, just what do you see after regular season games?
I go Birds, Sparta, Jersey Boys, Dark Slayers, TSS.
I go
Yosh? Yep.
I go Birds, Jersey Boys, Sparta, Dark Slayers, TSS.
Grump?
Birds.
By the way,
Jersey
that's
Boys.
when you go, by the way, is third. But go ahead.
Yeah, I got you. I mean, I was halfway through, but Birds, Jersey Boys, Sparta, Dark Slayers, and then TSS.
Bowen?
I'm on Megas. It's Bird, Sparta, Jersey Boys, Dark Slayers, TSS.
Yeah, for me, it's Birds, Sparta, Jersey Boys, Dark Slayers, TSS.
That's going to be mine as well. So there's only 2 different, which is Grump and Yosh. Everybody else in the consensus will be Birds is the number 1, Sparta is the number 2, Jersey Boys is the number 3, Dark Slayers is the number 4, and TSS is the number 5. That is your USL Live power rankings. With that, let's go into week 1 games and briefly talk about those. At the 9:30 p.m. slot, we have Birds versus Jersey Boys. Starting us off, Mecca, what do you think?
Let's see who has home on the site. For some reason, the site's not.
We haven't coin flipped yet, so technically we don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's going to matter. I mean, I think Birds is going to win regardless, but I think it's going to be a lot closer game if Jersey Boys gets home so they can just camp bottom left. Because even though there's allegedly new camp rules, I think they're still going to abuse it because it's still ref discretion. And there's not really anything to break camp still. So I think they're just going to camp bottom left like they did DX last season or 2 seasons ago, whenever that was. So I think that you see Birds win. I think they pull it out because I think Jersey Boys has a hard time winning in the clutch. As we saw a couple times over the past couple seasons, they kind of, against like DX on OD, they kind of threw it there too. So I think that Birds has just more clutch players, so they'll win it. But I think if Birds gets home and they take left, I think Birds wins this kind of going away.
Yeah, I agree. First off, let me say I hate the RNG stuff. I think it's not fun. This game is, if Jersey Boys wins this coin flip and could take that left side. This is on Apollo's, correct?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. If they could get that, they stand a real good chance of winning this game. Also, you got to look. Jersey Boys have been SBing a lot. Birds, they've been kind of inactive. Haven't really SB'd. They've been doing the last season championships, which guys that not really SBing a whole lot, not being active and stuff like that. That could come into factor. I know for me personally, yesterday I played in my first SB and holy shit, I felt a little dizzy for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, right? Just readjusting to everything. So you could see a little bit of that come into play. If Birds gets home and takes the left side away from Jersey Boys, I think this match becomes really, really dirty really, really quickly. But the star of this match is going to be the referees. This is the first game of the season, and we have Sabo and Dead up on deck. Kudos to those guys for taking charge of the league, and I'm looking to see how these new camp rules come into play. I am casting this game, so I'm going to be very, very critical of how they choose to moderate this.
Highly critical Yosh incoming. Grump?
Oh yeah.
It's me now, right?
Hey.
Okay, yeah. No, I mean, I think Birds takes this one. Like, I understand the side plays into it. I don't think even with home advantage, Jersey Boys wins this. I share a lot of the concerns that everybody else has, specifically with activity from Birds, but I honestly don't think it's going to matter that much. I think this one's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, I mean, I think Birds just has the firepower, especially adding people like Colossal on there. If their full team shows up, like Birds just wins this. But share a lot. I mean, everybody mentions there's the off chance with the camping, but yeah.
If Jersey Boys gets home, I think they win strictly because Birds has been inactive. They really haven't been around SBing, whereas Jersey Boys have been SBing almost nightly. However, it would still be close and would still be a very slow-paced game. If Birds gets home, that rust isn't going to matter because all that cover on the left side is going to allow them to acclimate a little bit better and unrust and unfade. I see the score being 42-23 in favor of Birds.
Right.
It would be closer, but those 42 kills get racked up when they have to push that last battle.
Eric is exactly right. I think the right now, Jersey Boys is in form. They're ready to go. They're playing every single night. They are absolutely ready to go. And if they get that home advantage too, that's just huge. I think Birds are going to have a little bit of a warm up, and that little bit of a warm up might turn into a win for Jersey Boys. I'm actually kind of upset that we don't have the 9:30 game as Sparta because I think the best chance to knock off Birds is they're just not in shape for that first game, but they will be for the second. And so we're going to have a tougher match there, which we're going to talk about here in just a second. But if Jersey Boys has a chance, is what I'm saying, and I think it depends on which side they get. So I'm going to call it right now for Birds as well. I think the consensus overall is Birds for the all the analysts here. Let's look at the 10-15 game, which is Sparta versus Birds. Anything different, Mecca?
Yeah, I think Sparta can take this. Like I said, I think starting lineups it's pretty even, and then medics I think Sparta has better medics if Iron's medding. Even though CC's kind of faded, if he can SB at all this week, I think Iron and CC is better than any med combo that Birds can put forward. You combine that with activity, and I mean Birds barely SB'd last season, and I think you saw in the champ game. I think you saw that the chemistry was a little wonky with the starting lineups here and there. And I think Birds during the week will use Kaga, and who knows if he shows up on Sundays. So I think Sparta has the slight edge on him week one. Not to say that in the rematch that Birds couldn't beat Sparta. I think that's entirely possible. That's why I have Birds number one. But I think that Sparta takes this one just purely based off activity.
Once again, this is going to come down to coin flip, right? Whoever gets that left side on this map is going to be in control. Do I think Sparta can win this match? Of course they can. You know, you don't count out Iron, Mecca, Eric, the rest of my boys, right? But they need that left side. Now, I know Eric does not like to play a slower-paced game. It's going to be really interesting to see the tactical decision on if he goes and tries to fight them straight up and, kind of test the rustiness of Birds a little bit there, or if he's going to play more reserved and play, a little bit just more cautious, try and keep the score close, and then, get that win at the end of the game. I'm looking forward to see how that game goes into play on that aspect, and I'm looking forward to see how Eric takes as a leader when he's the man now.
Grump?
Yeah, I actually think that the biggest factor in this match is what happens the match before. I think that if Jersey Boys camps and plays a super slow game for 30 minutes, Birds come into this one and sort of a little bit bloodlusty, and I think that plays in Sparta's favor. I think Sparta is actually, especially if they have home, I think Sparta has a real shot of taking this one away. I think that they're actually favored if they get home team. I will give that one to Sparta.
Yeah, I mean, I like Sparta's chances on this too. No matter what side Birds gets, I feel like they're a pushing squad. They're very much a Warhawks-esque, squad, and that squad has always been just pushed through. And they get the angles as they go. So it's going to be aggressive. I feel like this will be more of a fun game to watch. And I do feel like Sparta takes it, especially if we have some better angles and stuff we can get into from the left. But fun to watch.
It's going to be dependent on a few things, honestly. Does Nas show? If he shows, I'm playing more reserve, 100%, because he can carry that. If they get left side, it's going to be difficult. And that will force me to play a little bit more reserve, right? So, I mean, in the end, it's really going to come down to activity. And I think that if Jersey Boys beats Birds first off, we win. Because the whole quiet when mad type mentality that they kind of have in that leadership and that tilt that goes on will carry over right into the next game. Now, if they beat Jersey Boys, then we're in trouble. So I'm gonna say we do win it, but it's gonna be by like 5 kills.
I completely agree with Eric's version more than Grump's version in terms of the win. The what an impact that first game win would matter for Sparta the game, and you know, I think it just depends on who shows for Birds. We'll just have to wait and see on Sunday. That's why we play the games, as we say. But I think that Sparta probably has a little bit of the edge right now just because of activity. But I think it's going to be a nail biter, probably within 5 or 10 kills. So, all right, let's go to our final game. Interesting question about which is the match of the week between Sparta versus Birds or Dark Slayers versus Talking Smack Sunday. I think it's an interesting showing for Dark Slayers. We got Talking Smack Sunday, who's a more experienced skirmish leaguers versus CTFers. What do you think is going to happen, Mecca?
I think Dark Slayers wins this one. I think they're going to run some interesting support classes, which I think work on Apollo's map as well. Like you probably see King Nader or Demo. I just don't think that TSS has the players this year to win. I think there's too many holes. I think anytime that you have that dude medding, that it's going to be very hard for you to win. So I'm going to give Dark Slayers this one. I think Dark Slayers wins by... This is going to be a tough one. I think they win by like 20-ish. I think they win by a couple battles. I just don't see a lot of talent on TSS this year, so I think they're going to have a disappointing season.
So, can we not have that dude med? Please make him a Marine. That's what he's meant to play. His position isn't bad. I know we keep harping on it all the time, but please, that dude, if you listen, take that yellow vest off, my dude. It's not for you. You don't have the position for it because you think like a Marine. Right? If you're a Marine, your positioning is fine. You're going to pick up kills. Right? Hell, if you need some help, reach out to me. I'll teach you how to mouse real quick. It'll take me like 5 minutes and you'll become a better player. Right? As far as this game goes, though, I think Dark Slayers wins. I think Bax will put up a valiant effort, but at the end of the day, I think there's too much firepower on Dark Slayers for them to really, without Octavian. Now, this all changes if they pick up Octavian, but Octavian has vowed not to join them, guys, due to the off-season drama that happened.
A vow.
So Dark Slayers
written
wins.
in blood.
Yeah, they got a blood feud going on. So Dark Slayers wins by 35.
Okay, Grump?
Yeah, I think Dark Slayers just mops the floor with them. Especially, I think Dark Slayers coming in is going to be looking to make a statement. If there's any question about Ender's activity, this is the game he shows up for. I think this one's real cut and dry.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if Ender's there, this turns it real ugly real quick. Like Torch shows up, Jake shows up. Like this can get very bad for TSS. Aside from that, though, I mean, I don't know that either one of these teams really know how to utilize Apollo on the left side either way. So I don't know that home advantage is really going to matter. So I think Dark Slayer just takes it and runs about 20 kills at least.
Yeah, no, I think Dark Slayers runs away with this, especially again how Ender dismantled them in their bet last season. He's gonna run up the kills. I think he got 23 kills or something like that the last time they played. So he's looking to do the same. I think they're gonna win by like 25, 30.
I'm surprised nobody mentioned the feud between Tyrael and Bax right now. I think Tyrael's going to want to show Bax exactly what Dark Slayers would have done last season and lay the hurt on him. And I think they're going to do it in a big way. I just haven't seen TSS practice enough, and neither have I seen Dark Slayers. But they're playing a league right now. That's the difference. They're in form. So I think they come in here and kind of sweep the floor. I agree. 30, 35 might be underplaying it. It might be higher. So, any final comments about week 1? Or otherwise, I will close out the show.
Yeah, I got one final comment.
Okay.
If you're TSS or Dark Slayers, you need to be reaching out to these free agents to try and convince a couple of them to come play for you. I mean, Center's on the free agent list right now. If you need a medic, go grab that guy. Right? Brillhart's there, Fausto if you need an inactive leader, but Sunday he's gonna show up. He's gonna do good. I've heard Phony is making a return this season. Bonds is on that list. Flo, Stoink, Octavian's there if you need that. Man, Fresh is there as well. Like, these are good, solid players. Oh, Typhoon, if I didn't say that already. These are good, solid players that can really elevate your roster. Right? And then there's, guys like, maybe you can convince Soft to come play for you. Right? I don't know if you could, but maybe you can. Right? Yeah. Other than that, get active, try and recruit, guys.
Absolutely. All right. Any other comments before I close it? Nope.
Yeah, just that was a real long list of players from Yosh without saying my name. That fucking
You don't have hands anymore. You said this already.
That is true.
All right, guys, that'll do it for the Season 25 preview show. First up, guys, we need your help. Please volunteer to help make Season 25 happen. The USL staff could always use more active referees and analysts, so if you're looking for a way to give back to the league, I can think of no better way to do it. Also, USL Live co-hosts, I'd love to have you join me in the broadcast booth for USL Live. If you're interested in talking about the games in a recorded broadcast, calling the games in a play-by-play, or just contributing as a color commentator, I mean, even Grump can do it. Send me a private message or on Discord or in game. I'd love to get you in a game to see how you enjoy it, and be great to help keep USL live for the community and by the community. Also, there's an issue where Sparta has loaded up on commentators, so we're going to need some assistance in that department if you can help. Season 25 begins on Sunday, December the 8th. Captains and co-captains need to get your squads ready for a great season. For more information regarding schedules, rosters, forums, or to sign up to play in the Season 24 in the Unified Skirmish League, please visit uslzone.com. Please check out our videos on the Infantry Online YouTube page. You can watch games and clips, once again, made by our community for our community. We'd like to say thank you to my co-hosts for this show. We had Mecca, Yosh, Grump, Bowen, and Eric. Thanks to all you guys. I want to thank our executive producer, Military Police, without whom so much of what we do in this game would not be possible. This has been Romulocks, and you've been listening to USL Season 25 Preview Show. Catch you all in the drop show.